Do you think it has an impact on them as they go into the season? Do you think it should? I think there's one obvious answer to these questions, but where are you in terms of that projecting the
I
Hornets?
mean, it's tough, man, because I've kind of tried to stay a little more level headed through this summer and tried to have the opinion of like, look, at the end of the day, the roster is very similar to what it was last year. Ideally, our young players are improving, and now I'm starting to think that might have been a bit naive. Like I think obviously the Miles Bridges situation sucks for a million on a million different levels,
Yeah.
but just like from a pure basketball standpoint, I mean, he was clearly and by far the second best player on this team, and he's just gone. And that, along with some of the stuff we've seen in the preseason, I think, and this is not breaking news and is no secret to anyone who listens to this pod, but like, I think Jordan will be kicking and screaming all the way to what the right decision should be. Like, there's no question in my mind at this point that the Hornets should be trying to reset around the young core. My base case is they won't do it. Like, all the history tells us this team is more likely to trade for like Mike Conley than they are to trade away Rozier and Hayward and like continue to try and push for the 9th and 10th seed. So like, my medium base case is they will not do what I wish they would do. But I mean, look, I think we've all kind of thought they should do this even prior to what we just saw. And what we just saw is just further evidence that they should be trying to put their name in this sweepstakes for either one of these guys. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that could change that is, like, what if this team starts like 4-18 or something? I mean, what if they're just horrific out of the gates, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, maybe we should move on from a couple of these veterans, but it almost feels like it's like too little too late, maybe too, at a certain point. So that's how I feel about it, man.
So it's interesting because I tend to mirror your thoughts. And look, I've been saying, I think all of us have been saying on this pod that like for months now, since the Bridges thing really threw everything sideways for them.
That changed everything. Like with him, I'm still up, and obviously there's a whole nother angle of this, but just we're talking only basketball. Like with Bridges, I don't think there's any reason why this team wouldn't win 40, 41, 42 games again.
For sure. And it's one of those things where like I went on Nate Duncan's pod to fill in for Spencer on the Hornets preview earlier this week. And we did win projections at the end of it. And I took the under on the Hornets, and I threw out some number in the low 30s. And I mean, a number that I think they're going to need to get below if they really want to like be
absolutely,
really like improve their odds to go after these guys. And, it was a big difference. It was like, an 8-9 win difference from what they ended up with last season. And Nate asked me, he was like, "Oh, do you think Miles Bridges is like, an 8-9 win player?" And it was like, it's like not in terms of win shares. Do you know what I mean? Like definitely not. But it's when you talk about the floor,
this specific context, the specific roster,
and what he was for them offensively as a floor raiser because of his ability to be like their far and away their best pressure point on the rim.
Totally.
Like, Steve Clifford can talk all he wants about how good Charlotte's rim numbers looked last season. It's like, they were 6th in the NBA in percentage of field goal attempts at the rim. That's great. And they took a lot of corner threes. That's also great. A lot of that stuff gets generated off of the rim pressure, and then you kick out to those open shooters. You're missing the most important piece in terms of creating that. And I know, like, like obviously LaMelo does so much for this team from a creation standpoint, but like he's incredible, but like where he is limited is going to be maybe a little bit further exposed this season without Bridges and with like more of an ask on him. So I think like one of the potential saving graces for this team, and I said this to Richie, is like it may not matter. Like they may be trying to gun for the 10th seed, but like it ultimately it may not be enough. And they're so thin that like if Hayward is actually going to like miss time in the regular season, which what we're being told now, at least, is that
Right.
if it was the regular season, he'd be playing. But like if we're already there, like we're recording this October 8th, man. Like if we're there already, it's just like they can't afford. And if LaMelo missed 2 weeks or 3 weeks, if Terry Rozier missed some time.
So that's the other thing. Like obviously knocking on all the wood, God forbid, I want LaMelo to play 82 games this season because I love him and he needs the development. But if LaMelo were to go down for any significant portion of time, they might be the worst team in the NBA.
Yeah, seriously. It's starting to look more and more like that, especially as you're looking out to see what, I mean, all of a sudden, Orlando and Houston, they have these just incredible, and I know like in Oklahoma City, they have these incredible collections of like young players as they've just, even within Oklahoma City's maybe taken a more like holistic approach, but
Utah and San Antonio look kind of smart right now, don't they?
Absolutely. And San Antonio just hauled in a great draft class this past season, one that I know you and I liked a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
Wesley, Jeremy Sohan, Malachi Branham, and now they're going to have a great chance to go get Victor or Scoot. And they've still got guys like Devin Vassell on the roster. They can probably trade off Keldon Johnson at some point if they want to. Like they're in a very nice spot in terms of like where their rebuild is at, assuming, good luck with the lottery.